Hello, fellow political geeks. I'm Barry Schumer, the host of the Political Geek Podcast. This is our second episode, and thanks for joining me. If you like what we're talking about here, please subscribe to the channel, hit like, and maybe share it with some of your friends. I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Florida on July 4th, 2026. Around 9:30 in the evening. Everybody's waiting for the big fireworks display in Washington, D.C. It's supposed to be pretty spectacular. Got delayed because of some thunderstorms and lightning in the Washington, D.C. area. They're saying President Trump is going to give his speech about 11 o'clock, so I'm looking forward to that. Tonight, I'm going to talk about my book that I introduced to you last time, Box Seats to the End. Will the People Save the Republic? And what I'm going to do tonight is just read you some of the chapter titles to try to pique your interest a bit. Chapter 1, Trump in favor of oxygen, liberals vow to hold their breath. The phenomenon called Trump derangement syndrome. It's quite spectacular to watch. I'll be talking quite a bit about this throughout the podcast. Chapter 2, I'll show you how much I hate Trump. Watch this. Chapter 3, Socialist Utopia is awesome. Huh? What 100 million people murdered? Chapter 4, God the Predator. Chapter 5, Hitler's Virtues. Chapter 6, Hey lady, where's your vagina? That's my favorite chapter. Chapter 7, White Privilege, really? Chapter 8, Violent MS gang members have feelings too. Chapter 9, The Dirty, White, Racist, and Misogynist America. Chapter 10, Too Stupid to Recognize Dumb People. Chapter 11, The Leaks Are Real, The News is Fake. Chapter 12, Only Losers Come in First Place. Chapter 13, May I Change Your Diapers? And Chapter 14, How Will This All End? That was the end of our first book that came out in 2017. And then at this point, the additional chapters that were put in the book that came out in January this year. Chapter 15, Addendum to the first edition from 2016 to 2019. Chapter 16, the 2020 election and January 6th. Read about my real-time description of what happened in the 2020 election, writing daily for 3 months from November to January that year. Chapter 17, COVID. That really shook the country quite a bit and really had a lot to do with what happened in the 2020 election. Chapter 18, 2021 to 2024, the world and the USA in turmoil. Trump runs in 2024. Can prison or assassination stop him? Chapter 19, Trump's second inaugural speech. And Chapter 20, Trump's first year, 2025. So take a look at my book, political fans. You're going to enjoy it. I think the cover is beautiful. One half is the Constitution. The other half is the American flag. My son and daughter-in-law designed this cover, and they did a great job. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, so take a look at it and tell your friends about it. It's the best of my 8 books. What else we can talk about tonight? Just a little historical perspective as we wait for the big fireworks show. That very interesting trivia kind of question or point, that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died on the same day, July 4th. I believe it was 1824, 1826, I'm not sure, but that is really quite amazing that these two founding fathers died on the same day, Independence Day, July 4th. And what's interesting, too, is that for many, many years they were absolute political enemies. But later in their lives, they patched things up and became actually good friends. So I always thought that was interesting. The other thing about John Adams, I'll say, is that he after the Declaration of Independence and then the U.S. Constitution, he said that this republic is only going to survive as long as its citizens live a moral life. That morality was very important, and that's what it took, a moral society and citizenship, to keep the republic moving in a healthy direction. Well, there's been a lot of moral questions the last 50 years in this country. Some of it is just a natural progression in a country's history. But when a society becomes too immoral, you can see what happened. Let's look at Rome. That's a pretty good example of that. So we'll see what happens with that issue, but that was a very important issue to John Adams. Now, moving to more modern times in politics, we have only 4 months now till the midterm elections. I believe it's November 3rd. Today's July 4th, so 4 months to go. And we're going to see what happens. Hard to predict at this point. I mean, if I were to try to predict as just a layman person, I'd probably say that the Democrats will win the House and the Republicans will win the Senate. But who knows? I mean, we're going to have to wait to find out. An interesting game I play with my Democratic friends. It's really fascinating. I call it the Trump game. And a lot of my Democratic friends, they are very hesitant to play it with me. And I'll tell you why after I'm done with the example. I said to one guy I golf with, the Trump game is basically, I'm going to say something good about Joe Biden, and then you need to say something good about Donald Trump, either something he accomplished or something positive. So my example for Joe Biden was, I like his administration changed some of the Medicaid rules to have better dental coverage for poor people. And I thought that was a very important thing. I know that because my brother's a dentist, and he ended up taking on a fair amount of Medicaid patients because the fee structure had changed. And he thought, well, I'm going to help out some people that are sort of needy. And he felt they were paying him enough to make it worthwhile. So that was my example. And then this golf buddy of mine, he took 2 or 3 hours to think about it. And what he came up with is Trump's one of the luckiest people he's ever known. Now, being a lucky person, that's not really a compliment or saying something good about his policies or something he's accomplished. But that's the best he could do. And that's better than most Democrats when I play the game. Most Democrats simply will refuse to play the game. Because in their mind, in their emotional cognitive structure, they are so threatened about the possibility of saying something positive about President Trump that they simply can't cope with it. And this is obviously part of the definition of cognitive dissonance, that a thought or an emotion enters your brain that actually threatens your well-being and safety, and you must reject it because it actually threatens your stability and balance in life. We write about it in the first chapter of the book, Cognitive Dissonance, very important kind of concept. But I thought you'd find that interesting, the Trump game. I thought about it because I really hope that President Trump takes a week vacation sometime in the next few months, maybe before the end of summer, because he's starting to look tired to me. He's starting to look tired. That 4 hours of sleep he gets every night is starting to catch up with him, at 80 years old. And the man just works. I mean, from what you hear, he's working from 6 in the morning to 1 in the morning every day pretty much. I'm sure he has some relaxation time for dinner with the family, his wife. But he's not doing much. He's not going to Mar-a-Lago very much lately, especially with the Iran conflict going on. I'd love to just hear him say that him and Melania went for a week somewhere to some beautiful place where he could just relax. Because I think he deserves it. The last thing I want to say tonight on this podcast is that, we are told so many lies by the media, and this has been for years and years and years. And a couple of the lies that I will tell you about, that it just hit me tonight watching the celebration on TV, that most Americans are miserable and unhappy. I don't believe that at all. that everyone is broke. Well, clearly that's not true. Many people are broke. Many people live in poverty or lower middle class life, and it is a serious problem, no question about it. The affordability issue is real. I mean, costs have just gotten out of control the last 5 or 10 years for sure. Um, that the country is racist, a total lie. Okay, I would proclaim and debate anybody who would like to debate me that today in the United States, July 4th, 2026, on our 250th anniversary of the founding of the country and the Declaration of Independence, I would say that we are living in the least racist time in the history of the country. Um, Part of that hit me watching the TV and the celebration. They're in a shelter because of the bad weather. And you have black people, white people, Asian people, all laughing, joking, getting ready for the big fireworks. Most people I know in my life are actually doing pretty well and are pretty happy. I don't know that many people that are really struggling terribly, either financially or emotionally. Again, there are obviously many people in that category. And I do know some people in that category because I'm a psychotherapist. So I work with people that are depressed, have gone through a divorce, a recent death, and obviously those people are not going to be that happy for a while. But generally, I think most people I know are very happy and are doing pretty well. And that the country is divided. Another lie, there's some partial truth to that. Certainly, the whole Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative, families not talking to each other because one group likes Donald Trump, the other despises him. I mean, there is truth to that, but I don't think we're as divided as the media would like us to think. I think tonight on July 4th, 2026, you have people on both sides, Democrats, Republicans, Trump lovers, Trump haters, that are just proud to be Americans and are enjoying this special day that we have. So the lies from the media and the perceptions that Americans get, it's very disturbing actually. And it's hard to know what the truth is anymore because there are so many non-truths that are put forward. Anyway, thank you for joining the podcast tonight. My podcast titled Box Seats to the End, where I talked a bit about my book and the chapter titles. We love the chapter titles. But if you decide to read it, I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it's a pretty good book. Until next time, political geeks, happy 4th.